Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And it's Friday again, and I think it's going to be an interesting one tonight. I think it's going to be a fun one. All right, okay. So we're just going to jump right into this thing. First up tonight is Cletus. Hey, Cletus. Oh, Cletus, I'm sorry.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry about that. I just went to mute someone else and accidentally muted you. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. Hey, hope y'all are doing well. Um, Alrighty. You can hear me now? Right, yeah.
Yep, loud and
Fantastic.
clear.
Okay.
Perfectly.
All right. So I'm gonna read three short ones. Um, this one's kind of a joke, I guess, more than a poem, but it's after Louise Gluck. Louise Gluck has this really famous poem called and and the famous line in the poem is, "At the end of my suffering there was a door." And so I'm saying I'm gonna be, I guess, parodying that a little bit. This is from Ezekiel's Girl Vision after Louise Gluck. At the end of my suffering there was not a door. There were angels with four faces and four wings. Each had the face of a human being, and on the right side, each had the face of a lion, and on the left, the face of an ox. Each also had the face of an eagle. They each had two wings spreading out upward, each wing touching that of the creature on either side.
I think Cletus just dropped, possibly. I'll let him back in when he technical difficulties tonight.
It
Um,
was
oh, oh, that yeah, I'm not. I'll give Cletus a second. It seemed like his connection was a little sketchy anyway, so hopefully it's his connection and not my connection.
I was hearing some interference too on Cletus's end. I think it might be.
Oh yeah, there he is. There he is. Yeah, it seemed a little choppy, so oh, let me just make sure I let him in here. Sorry guys, it'll be just a second. I think he should be back in the room now. Hey Cletus, can you hear us?
Yeah. Did I drop off?
You dropped, yeah. And you started breaking up a fair bit and then you dropped out of the call.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, this is after Louise Gluck. Louise Gluck has a famous line that says, "At the end of my suffering, there was a door." So this is a parody of that. This is called From Ezekiel's Inaugural Vision. At the end of my suffering was not. There were angels with four faces and four wings. Each had the face of a human being, and on the right side, each had the face of a lion, and on the left, the face of an ox. Each also had the face of an eagle. They each had two wings spreading out upward, each wing touching that of the creature on either side, and each had two other wings covering its body. The appearance of the angels was like burning coals or torches. Fire moved back and forth among them. All right, this one's called Alternate Reality, where I succumb to my white trash upbringing. It's like herding snakes through a forest fire. The homing pigeon of misery is my baby mama's text messages. I make meth with some man named Jesus.
Oh no. Did we lose Colin?
I'll just listen. I don't know what's wrong with my internet. Anyway,
Well, why
Sorry
don't
about
we,
that, y'all. I'll
sorry,
just listen.
Colvin, why don't we, why don't I move you to a little later in the night and then we'll give it another try and see if your internet has stabilized by then.
Yeah, that works. Thanks. Sorry about that.
No, no problem, man. I'm sorry you're having technical difficulties. So I'm gonna move Cletus to later in the night, and Ryan is next.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Perfectly. Hey Ryan,
No,
how's
it's
it going?
perfect.
What's up? It's good. So I'm actually reading from a group housing, and funnily enough, this counts as a meeting, as in like Alcoholics Anonymous or like something. So this counts as one of my meetings for that. So thanks. I'm a write-aholic, whatever. I don't know. I'm reading 7 poems, or maybe less. I don't know. But this is from a collection I just finished called Paradox Healer. This is the first poem. To be honest, we are really fucking weird, and I'm tired of pretending that life is already understood. That's the poem. We paid in quarters in the neon dark. A million white flowers blade in the opening of a hurricane into the softest apologizing you can propose. A belly full of tea and the nanofibers gathering to create your heart. And every way the sea foams is another dream of Yahiko's pizzazz. What I've lost today will always be remembered when it's time to talk over a song. Does your dazzled mannequin know I love myself, like a chunk of octopus with nowhere to dream but the streaming night? And the rain falling on my hands doesn't matter. It's in the way you genuflect the juice out of a fruit, sunflower wreaths hissing in the falling storm, the drip of my valorous wine stamping life into the entelechy of a brainstorm in 5 minutes with the reprobate. Somewhere you can remember will be real for you as your eyes orbit a glint of travesty and chime. This is called It Surrounds Me Like Bubbled Star Ooze. By the windows that lift you in all directions, the sugar, this came out on Expat, the sugar trickles out of your life force like a pyramid eroding in a container, and a car hushes by that couldn't have been there, except by dreamy heroics. And the ocean that is constantly massaging your back is satisfied by your tip that rolls like a whetstone into her, as everyone narrowly avoids disaster by succumbing to the best momentum in the air. And birds in the sky cover the whole of your birdless womb, like a correction for a life you can't guess anything about. And the quarters in your pocket were once played in an arcade across town, where the boy knew he lost the right moment, but still threw up his arms and cocked his head, as all the lights guarding heaven shed a little withered compassion on the world. I'm too tired to write a poem right now. This is for a girl. But I just wanted to slip my head through the curtains that guard the cinematic serenity that drips from your eyes when you tell me that your car won't start and you're trying to leave the freak show to go to another freak show. And I just remembered that I promised you the embers that have been in my pockets for my entire life. So if I threw them into the breathing contract of the night sky, would you be comforted by them as stars? The neighbor's flowers deserve to be decapitated, and the ocean has a shotgun that only I have seen. How many stars illuminate in the indeterminable fact of existence? The angel tilted his wing, dripping with black weight, and brushed a patch of grass that didn't seem to belong to reality. Over there, a mother dangled her leg above mouthy pavement. A man greasing by kept his teeth in a used music box, and a madame is slicing her chicken in the last room on earth. Still, the man whose face is drowning asks you for your ticket to the life-saving device. I am the life-saving device, you reply, and he punches you in the gut. While the universes ask questions in the window. Someone is remembering you like this. Pinballing down the sun with animated blossoms, flowing from the netherworld, listening to Sparkle Horse, and smiling to see the diseased snake is providing you with literal imagery through a cage haunted by sugar. If we could wear rivers like blindfolds, I hope you would still be able to kiss me. You open the closet, the last 4 lines of this for the same girl the other poem was for. The tablecloth of the sky leaks fat globs of shining honey, and the man trudges through the soaking park with the composure of a hallmark angel, while a clamp is brought into the answerless stars, the same stars that watched me watch a girl drink from a beverage in this motionless evening and did nothing at all. And if there's something I can do right now that will take me to you like a train in the dark, I will do it, because your little rabbit call cadence is crowding my mind, and maybe all of this ended already in the middle of us trying to figure out what it is, and what resulted was in something entirely different. All right, those are my poems. Thanks for listening, guys.
Those were fucking beautiful, Ryan. These poems are so fucking gorgeously written. I am in awe of some of the images that you conjure up over the course of these poems. And not only the images themselves, which are beautiful and beautifully described, but the like emotional logic like that underpins like the unraveling of these kind of mystical images that are mixed in with mundane reality, and how it all holds together in a way that doesn't make it seem like a slideshow of pretty things, right? Instead, there's this real underpinning of like you're watching someone's mental and emotional state like evolve over the course of the poem, and just in an incredibly beautifully realized way, and it's just a very moving way. So those were fantastic, Ryan. Thank you so much for sharing, and it's always nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Hey man, thanks man. And also I'm glad we can serve a more practical purpose for you too and count as one of your meetings. Hey, it's a win-win, right? All right, thank you, Ryan. Um, Kat is up next.
Hey, I'm gonna read two things. I don't do this very often, but I'm gonna read something that I have been kind of writing for 2 days that's definitely not done. But first I'm gonna read the thing that's done, which is probably a bad idea because I'm leading with the thing that's better, but we're gonna do it that way. So here we go. Today years old when I learned the phrase like moths to flame implies the flame eventually kills the moths. It's a flame, not a light bulb, and even then. Hot for you and it's a problem. We talk about fucking while the wind rips fixtures off the roof. Kind of fucking I can feel through the phone and 2 layers of fabric. Kind of wind that puts out the drunk cig a man half my size light standing in the street. Like kissing through tubes in a way. Exchanging the shirt that cures depression for the one that makes people ask questions about your sexuality. Chop you up in little pieces, me in my Chelsea boots. Regret to inform I felt something. Regret to inform that recording of me in the morning in New York moaning 4-syllable words. Nobody has pushed my hair behind my ear since I cut it. I was shook. Angel emoji. Course I'm fucking with you. Cropped out the laughter at the end and the crinkle of sheets. I'm jazzed about you, feeling unplayed notes. Baby, now I don't want what I want anymore. I'm easy for you, don't want nothing, loyal and desireless like a dog. Starving like a dog pissed on and pissing into the wind, onto the fire. The moths scare me, you find them cute, figures. Typical morning for me. Bet you picture my eyes bulging open, orchestral sting, pawing your shirt as I babble for and in various tongues. Well, regret to inform. On the way out of the bar, on the wall, there's a heart-shaped sticker that says, "You are not the one." And no matter how many people point it out to me, I can't see it. Then again, I never do. So there's that one. And then here's the one I've been kind of like, I don't know, adding things to and deleting things from for like 2 days just in the background. This one's called Explaining Time to My Dog. A work day is 16 walks long. 8 of those big ones where we don't make that left turn off 14th and pass the house with the year-round inflatables. A year is the time between when the other houses take their inflatables down and when they put them back out. The time between fireworks finales, but also the time it takes me to walk to the mailbox and back with you staring out the window. But also the time it takes me to run a 5K in the morning. In other words, a year is also 30 minutes. 30 minutes is the length of a walk, but also the refractory period after a walk where I have to start spelling it again instead. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. We all have words that people we love can't say to us, not because they'll hurt us, but because it'll feel too good too fast, and your feelings are scary. That look on your face when you're running full tilt at someone who's not ready yet, who's still putting their shoes on. It's the not readiness they're afraid of, the way it makes them feel to see you feeling, the way they wish they had something to say other than wait, and the way they can't define that word. It hurts, but you figure it out eventually. The sounds of the letters, the shapes of them in their mouths, the certain way they breathe, like their hand is already on the leash across the room. And that's all I got.
Okay, Kat. So I know you opened with the second piece isn't done, right? But I disagree. I totally, I 100% fucking disagree. That piece is like, it's done. It's fucking finished. It's so good. Like, even on a structural level, it is done because you, there's a twist that happens halfway through this piece that arrives perfectly. And it arrives perfectly because the piece works as the thing that you think it is when it starts, right? Like there's so like it 100% works as a like explaining time to my dog piece. And the way you do it is totally unique. There's nothing excessively cutesy or excessively condescending about it. Instead, it really is like you're trying to find a language to communicate these things to the dog. And the details there, I love the inflatables thing because, yeah, that's something the dog would notice, right? That's the kind of change in the environment that would draw their attention. That's the kind of like physical like symbol, like part of the geography that you can use to try to explain time to them. And so just that first half of the poem is actually really touching and effective because it also there's this thing that like literature or stories about pets always kind of does where it draws attention to the difference between the span of a human life and the span of an animal life. And a lot of the time the way that's done is so fucking maudlin, right? It's so emotionally manipulative. But here it's really subtle, and here like there's still that same bittersweet quality of knowing that you're going to outlive this thing, but it's not foregrounded. Instead, it's presented in these little increments, these little small details that are noticed. But, but then the piece swings in the other direction and it becomes like increasingly obvious this isn't just about the dog. And the way that you handle that is very subtle and it's very emotionally effective because you never like to use a dog metaphor, you never like lose sight of the ball here, right? Like you're still chasing after the same thing, but it becomes more complex, it becomes richer, and it then begins to encompass human relationships too. And I think, like I said, I think this piece is done. I can't really imagine a better version of this piece. Now, the first poem is so fucking good. It is so good. It's so effective because it's so emotionally varied and emotionally rich without like it's emotionally varied without feeling schizophrenic in the way that it's emotionally varied. It doesn't feel like it's jumping from emotion to emotion. Instead, it's capturing a kind of insecurity about love and insecurity about sex that like ripples throughout the piece and kind of changes direction and becomes amplified and kind of then like moves into the background. And like just on a stanza by stanza level, man, this kills. Like every stanza in this thing is a murder, you know? Um, and I actually really like the short ones here too. Like I love regret to inform I felt something. I love I love the way that starving like a dog is its own stanza that exists between the other two dog stanzas and serves as this kind of pivot point for the other two stanzas. I I really love the I'm jazzed about you feeling unplayed notes ones. Not only for its value as a stanza in and of itself, but as a like almost transformative moment in the poem, because it, and this may just be me like seeing something that's not there, but after that moment, the poem begins to take on a more musical and song-like quality, I think personally. Like even the like baby now I don't, like it starts to take on a kind of like jazz or bluesy quality after that point. And that even the dog stuff is very kind of bluesy feeling. And whereas prior to that point, you've got the bigger stanzas and it feels like more of a like poem. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I feel like I'm struggling to explain that. Anyway, I like both of these pieces a whole lot, Kat. I'm glad you read them.
Jesus Christ, thank you.
No, thank you for reading. So up up next is Flick. Flick is up next.
I just want to say that the dog story made me realize a couple of years ago when I was 69, I got my first dog in 20 years. And so after I got it, I realized, shit, this now is like a competition for survival. I never had a dog where I always figured I was going to want it. So now I'd like to do a story based on a competitive thing with a guy versus his dog. You know how they do those dog things in Madison Square Garden, dog shows? Imagine a bunch of old people with their dogs, and at the end, anyway, that inspired. I really appreciate that. And also what inspired was I came on, I was going to read a couple of the Fracas collaborations I did with Unity that were published the last couple of months. But I got so excited about the whole monkey talk that I'd rather throw up put up a piece I wrote called about human and monkey sort of romance called Sozumi. So let me see, can I put it? So put the link in. You got to see the pictures. Fracas, this picture is unfucking believable, and that's what made me inspire me to write the piece.
You should be able to put the link in the chat. I put the other two links in the chat, but if you have the link, you should just be able to copy paste it right into the chat.
Yeah,
you should see
so
it.
I did. I think I did.
Oh, maybe.
Can you see it?
I cannot see it.
No.
Nope, I don't see it yet. One thing is check to make sure it's going to everyone.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, okay.
Somebody found it and put it in there.
Yep, I see it.
Oh, is it in there? Okay, because
Yep.
I gotta. That's. You see the photo of the gorilla with the hand?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's from the Bronx Zoo. The woman's a friend of mine. She's a great photographer. Now, when I saw that photo, those hands are pretty thick. So I asked, is that a man or a woman's hand? And when she told me it was a woman's hand, it gave me the idea for this piece called Sozumi. I didn't want to go on this Bronx Zoo outing. I've lived nearly 67 years without ever visiting. Never had any interest watching poor trapped souls ache for the freedom of their visitors. When the Seniors Housing Commission organized this trip for my building, I ignored it, as I have every year. Why I jumped on the chartered bus right before it took off this morning was a mystery to me, but now the mystery is solved. Thank you, Joey, for guiding me to that bus seat. God forgive me. I know the church says it's blasphemous to believe in a soul's rebirth into another body, but I'm seeing and feeling reincarnation. The moment I stepped into this gorilla house, our eyes locked, and I knew it was you, Joey. You haven't turned your gaze from me for a single second. Figured you'd come back as a silverback gorilla. It's the silver anniversary of your departure. 25 years ago, you left me so suddenly. Father Donnelly said you were called home, but I told him he was a liar. Your home was with me. God forgive me. A day hasn't passed since then without my missing your touch. I love teasing you about your hairy back. I've noticed at the senior swimming pool that most bald men have hairy backs. You would act so offended when I would call you my big ape because of your back hair, but I knew you loved it. Here's a secret, Joey. I always called you my big ape whenever I desired intimacy with you, and you always responded, just like today. Each morning I've woken since you've left, I've never minded getting a day older because I knew it meant I was getting a day closer to the time when I could return to you. I've been so impatient. Despite it being a mortal sin, I tried joining you dozens of years ago. I once stuck my head in the oven and began sniffing gas, but I turned it off when I realized I couldn't be certain that you would be in hell waiting for me. You did enough good during your life to have made it to heaven, so I decided not to take the chance of being routed to hell, being separated from you for eternity. Is adultery a mortal sin, Joey? After you died, I found out you were banging Millie Brandenburger from apartment 5E. But I forgive you because I know she was lonely and you always had a Jones for large breasts. I figured it was some kind of distorted mommy thing. So you're more to be pitied than ostracized. Nobody's perfect, Joey, and that includes me. A few years after your death, I was convinced by my friend Sonia, whom I know you never liked, to try dating. I didn't want to go out with another man because I felt like I would be cheating on you, even though it's crazy to think that way. Sonia was keen to introduce me to her cousin Ricardo. Before my first date with him, she asked me if I shaved. I told her I always remove my armpit hair. Sonia laughed and said men these days prefer that a woman shave her private area. I thought that was disgusting. I asked her if her cousin was a pedophile because I'd only go out with a man interested in meeting a real woman and not some knockoff little girl. I did meet Ricardo and we went out dancing. I found him very sweet and attractive. After 5 dates with him, I realized how much I missed physical intimacy. Before my next date with him, I bought a Lady Remington razor and shaved down there, hoping to make myself more appealing to him. When I looked at myself in the mirror before taking a shower, I felt nauseous and totally exposed in such an unnatural way. It reminded me of what you told me when you were a boy taking judo lessons, how you felt after you took your first after-class communal shower. Everyone seemed circumcised, so you believed that you were the unnatural freak. I refused to see Ricardo again until after my pubic hair grew back. But by that time, he had found another woman. I decided I was too old to date at age 44. What upset me so much about shaving was I remembered how much you loved and admired what you call my luxurious bush. You always teased me about how much fun it was exploring my lush forest in order to discover its hidden treasure. So now you live in an artificial bush enclosure, Joey. Are you enjoying it? Have you wondered why I switched my beautiful engagement ring to my right hand before reaching out to you today? When I noticed you would sometimes move your wedding band to your right hand, I asked you why you did that. You said it was because you're left-handed and it was more comfortable when you wrote up all your claims examiner reports. But there's a thing called the internet now, Joey. And when I looked up on the computer why people switch wedding rings, it said it was a code that meant although the ring wearer was married, it signals to others that he or she was open to cheating on their partner. The sign on your cage says silverbacks live with a harem, one male and multiple females. I changed rings hands because I want those monkey sluts in there with you to know I'm available if you still want me. I know it's stupid to feel jealous right now. Was Millie the only one? Did you feel caged with me, Joey? I heard a woman whisper to her friend that silverbacks have the smallest genitals of all the apes and are extremely jealous. That sounded so much like my Joey. I enjoyed your jealousy because it proved how much you love me. I think the reason I miss you so much these past 25 years is that you were always such a mystery to me. I'm scared to leave this monkey house, Joey, and afraid to come back. When I leave, will your eyes follow me to the exit? What happens if I decide to return? What if I come back to visit you and you completely ignore me? Will that mean that everything I'm feeling and know to be true right now is a lie? Should I take that chance, Joey? Is this the work of a loving God who understands my sorrow, or Satan teasing my lonely desperation? Do I risk losing this joy of being selfish and demand you pay the same attention to me a second time? Or should I just be content with this loving encounter? Farewell, and thank you so much, Joey. This has been such an exhilarating experience for me. When I leave your gorilla exhibit and push open the door, for the first and only time in my life, I'm going to walk out in public feeling like an alpha female. All right, that's it.
So, Blick, I remember you reading this once before years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you read it again because this is one of my favorite pieces by you. Because I think this is a really good example of something that you do extremely well in your writing, which is you have crafted a really wonderfully complicated, unreliable narrator here. You have crafted a character who, it would be so simple for this story to be a one-note story, right? About a lonely older woman who becomes convinced that her ex-husband, or that her deceased husband, excuse me, has been reincarnated as a gorilla. And that's just all it is. She has uncomplicated good feelings for him, and it's kind of nutty for her to feel this way, but like it's oddly heartwarming or whatever. But instead, you just like keep layering on the like emotional like complexity here, or the contradictions. You just keep layering on the contradictions. I love how we get to see Joey, like the way we ultimately end up seeing him is as this louse, right? This philandering guy and we wonder like, what did he bring to the table at all, right? And yet throughout the whole piece is written in this incredibly loving tone. And on top of that, you have the conceit of her seeing him as the gorilla, which raises so many questions about her state of mind. And not only in the present, but maybe in the past as well, right? And so the whole thing becomes this wonderful piece with two characters, and you wonder about both of them, right? Even though you can't get inside of Joey's head. And it's I don't know, it's really psychologically nuanced, but it's also very direct and very frank and very fun. Like there are some pieces that are like, about unreliable narrators, or that are about like troubled human psychology, you could say, where like the whole thing is kind of a drag. And that's not the case here at all. Like this remains funny and fun and oddly light throughout, even as it's going into like this woman's troubled mind and her like obviously very troubled marriage. It's a great piece, Blake. It's one of my favorites that you've read.
Well, it's I love the monkey talk. So it was monkey foreplay that made me. I'm sorry, Unity. I threw Unity overboard for this, but do it another time.
Hey, you know what? Come back next week and read the Unity pieces next week. How about that?
Yeah. Okay.
You can become a regular again, Blick. We've missed.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Blick. And Derek is up next.
Thanks, William. I sent William a thing 2 days ago asking if I could read. I really appreciate it letting me. And I told him I told him what I was going to read tonight, not what, but what I didn't, I haven't told anyone else. I don't know if anybody knows or anything like that, but it will, it's an honor, and it's weird also to be like, the presence was extremely intense this week. Like I heard it, like I'm gonna read something really short tonight that's not mine. That's why I'm so nervous. When I read my dumb shit, it's so easy. She belongs to everyone. And everyone, we all like had different names for this. Is my original copy. You guys, these flags right here from when I immediately went and made a video about it before I had the pleasure of getting to know her and everything else. And I'm going to read a little bit tonight because she's this is from Ruthless Little Things by Elizabeth Aldrich. I'm going to read Joyride. Kimberly screams into my ear, all the loudness of her voice tuned to the frequency of my cell phone. Fuck your plans. I can't be alone right now. Her sentences are punctuated by the sound of her snorting lines. We're 16 with too much free time. Kimberly slides her finger across the skin above her lip and licks the coke dribbling from her nose. She's just had a big fight with her boyfriend, John, who's 45 years old. Kimberly says she needs somebody to go with her to Hollywood to deal with this fucking bullshit. She meets him at my house. I'm wearing jeans and a heatherette tank top with a diamond graphic. Diamond are a girl's best friend, and expensive hair extensions, the kind that take hours to put in. We make the easy 1 mile trek to her house so we can get properly dressed up. Kimberly's house is a mess. The house is filled with things and creepily devoid of people. I've never met Kimberly's parents. The things are everywhere. Dusty Chanel purses and indifferent and designer cosmetics. Her phone rings, the ringtone indiscernible over the blasting MGMT record. She violently motions for me to switch off the stereo so she can put John on speakerphone. We're going to the beach, he informs us. Get ready. She crushes some blow with a matte compact and does a line, her anger switching off instantly. She resurfaces on a genial plateau of euphoric haze. She throws Marlboro Reds into some of her Chanel purses, and soon we get picked up by John in his BMW. My hair is flying everywhere. We are driving fast, 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 the world around me shaded dark through Valentino butterfly shades. Kimberly tells me she loves me. We pull up to John's house, hop out of the BMW, and get into his Escalade. Kimberly lights up a cig. She brags about her matches from Vegas and how fast they light up. I read all the stickers in the garage, something about empowering girls and donating to Africa. Do you have any kids? I asked John. The seats are beige leather, soft, smooth. It feels like a spaceship, somewhere to hide from the dirty heat of the San Fernando Valley. Yeah, he says, a daughter, Amanda. She's 16. We leave and stop at a liquor store. Kimberly and I are in need of some eyeliner, but I can't find any. I ask if we're going to get drunk at the beach. Kimberly says, yeah, which sounds pretty nice to me. It's a long drive to the beach from the valley, so John stops in the parking lot to make us some drinks in the car. I drink whatever John mixes. Vodka and red Gatorade, and it's strong. The lack of food replaced with diet pills makes me dizzy. We're drinking from red cups. We stay in the liquor store parking lot until the cups are empty because we don't want to spill in his car. Kimberly and I take some Vicodin because it's there and it's free. She's more cautious than me and only swallows one once I have. Back on the road, we're listening to music and dancing in the leather seats and smoking when Kimberly picks her jacket off the floor of the car, revealing 2 handguns and 1 shotgun. I've never seen a gun before, I say. You've never even held one, John asks. I shake my head, hypnotized by the presence of a weapon I've only seen in movies. Can't stop staring at them. Shiny metal things half covered by Kimberly's soft yellow hoodie. 1, 2, 3. Have you ever killed anyone? I ask. He looks at Kimberly, then at me. Yes. John tells me that there are only 1,000 in the world of this shotgun and proceeds to put it in my hand. I laugh and tell him I've never held a gun before. He laughs and says he's not going to kill me. I keep nodding off and being woken up by John feeling up my thighs. We go to this restaurant in Malibu called Taverna Tony's. He gets a Jack and Coke and orders us 2 margaritas on the rocks. John knows Tony, so we meet him. John keeps driving off his status and saying how Brad Pitt goes to this restaurant and that we're at the best table. At this point, I'm so drugged out, I ask anyone I see if I look cross-eyed because I was so dizzy. Kimberly's desire to go to Vintage Beach is overpowered by her need to ride the Sea Dragon at Santa Monica Pier. We have a 5-minute argument about its actual existence, and then we're on our way. We arrive at the 3rd Street Promenade, where John makes a reservation at Hotel California. I try to make the concierge believe John is my dad, but they just look at me for a second, me wobbling around with Kimberly, then ask John for his credit card. We go shopping. Walking itself is a carnival ride, and Kimberly and I are both talking in amazingly convincing British accents. John buys Kimberly a $300 dress at Mac's Studio, and then buys me $200 worth of Juicy Couture perfume and body wash at Sephora. After a few hours of going in each store on the quaintly lit promenade, we drive Kimberly back home. But I don't want the night to end. I want this glamorous days of drugs and shopping to go on forever. John drives me back to the hotel. In the car, John starts massaging my thigh at first, then smacks my crotch hard. At the hotel, John tries to fuck me, but I cover my pussy and tell him to put on a condom. He looks momentarily sheepish, maybe even girlishly shy, like a little kid in trouble. I ask him if he has any STDs, and he gives me a look like that would be the most scandalous thing ever. Of course not, he says. I think of the guns. We fuck. He constantly tells me he loves me and how gorgeous I am, etc., etc. I play along, tell him I love his cock. I let him unzip my dress and we fuck again while I stare at the beautiful Hotel California's ceiling mirage of fish and the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman movie poster. I give him head. I gag. He pushes my head and I throw up on his dick. My stomach is only vodka and pills, so nothing comes up but acid water. Not that it even matters because I lick it all up. My body does not belong to me, is not even attached to me. I'm floating. It ends, and I tell him I'm leaving to walk back to Express to get my jacket since I left it there. I got it from Wasteland, and I really fucking like it. I do not come back. I am in Santa Monica, and everything is closed, and this means my only way of getting back home is by calling my dad. Nausea ripples through my body on the drive back to the house. I sit in the back and listen to the oldies, K-Earth 101. I'm annoyed by the taste of salt on my lips and by how long the clean scent of ocean air lingers in the car. Thank you so much for letting me read. There's a thing about someone that a lot of us all know and stuff like that, and about reading in general, that every person who reads that stuff is going to have a certain way that they read it, and parts of the work that they like inflect and don't inflect and things like that. And I want to say, since this is a real person that we like have varying degrees of very serious relationship with, that's I am mindful of that, and I hope that other people, as the next year kind of unfolds or whatever, I hope that we start to normalize and read a lot more from this kind of stuff from all of the voices of the people that she read to. She called into this on the night on her way home from jail. Like, this was an important place and thing for her, and these were important people for her, and her work is incredible, and it is an honor that I felt like weird that it was honored to read it. And I hope other people start doing the same thing. Thank you so much. I don't want to talk anymore either. I want somebody else to go because I feel weird, you know.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek. Thank you. I have a lot of thoughts right now, but it's funny because when you sent me the message and said that you wanted to read from Eris this week, it was surprising to me because I had her on my mind this week and I don't even know why, right? Like, she had come up in passing conversation or something, and I don't know. And Gabe just said the same thing in the chat. It's funny how, like, you sometimes feel the presence of a person who's gone, like, collectively. But that aside, I'm glad you read this piece. I'm glad you read this piece because she read this at Misery Loves Company years ago. And I remember.
And I told her I hated this ending. And that's why I read this one, because I hated her endings. And they weren't, and I mean, like, I'm talking about like her ending. Do you know what I mean? Like, and this is called Joyride, and like there's so much joy in it while it's happening, but also like such a lack of connection with the self in a way that is horrifying.
Yes, Derek. No, you're right. You're fucking right. So what I was going to say is, when she read this at Misery Loves Company a few years ago, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember being struck very much like by the intrinsic tension in this piece between like the childishness of it and the like extremely like I don't know how else to say it, like adult material, right? Like, Eris wonderfully captured the sense of, in this piece in particular, of this girl who is in way over her head and yet hasn't lost this sense of like childlike joy about it, right? There are these moments, like they go to the amusement park, and like the way the characters interact with each other in this piece, you never lose touch with the fact that these are not adults. Like, regardless of what they're doing, the and because of that, like, the ending is the like dissociative ending to this piece is so fucking effective, because it's like the weight of all the unprocessed shit just coming down. And so like when she read it then, that I really focused on that, right? Like on the tension between those two things. And it's funny that you mentioned like the piece is called Joyride, right? Because this time when you read it, I just felt so fucking sad. Like honestly, this all of the like manic energy of the piece that I picked up on like the when she read it before is just gone, right? And there's just this incredible like sadness to it.
I think I was saying the opposite, honestly. I think it's still there. I think that's this time what I came away from reading it was like understanding that like the ending, like the
But it's
it
not
is all
entirely.
there. It just ends so soon, and it ends before the character can even realize that like she was the main character, like sitting there staring up at the ceiling and all that. And like it ended before like she could have had, you know,
I see what you're saying, man. I see what you're saying. And I don't know, man. It sucks. It sucks. It's been
there
just
could have been a different ending for that. I mean, in life, and like I think she could have found a happiness, you know.
I yeah, I mean I think so too. I mean I don't know. I it's hard to say much about a person who's not here to tell you what they thought and what they felt. But she always brought a lot of joy with her, and I can't imagine that that was entirely artificial or delusional or out of touch with reality. I think I don't think I don't know. It's one thing to talk about a person's work and like the nuance and complexity there, and it's another thing to look at the life of a human being who's gone and try to make sense of it. And
Well,
man,
about the, about this ending, I had a different interpretation of the thing. I actually love the ending, and I thought the ending really is what her whole life was dedicated to. At the very ending, I feel like she took us on a journey, and I'm floating up because she's looking at it from both inside and outside, what's going on. And as she's going up, she's floating and she's looking, this character is this is her life, and so she's up, she's floating up, but there's a ceiling there. She's floating up, she should be floating up higher, and she's up against that ceiling. And I just thought it was like an incredible piece. It was an out-of-body experience. By the ending, just shifted the entire I was so into the physical, and then at the ending with that beautiful metaphysics in there, yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think that's what she did. I think she took us all on that floating journey that she never, she never broke through the ceiling, right? But she kept on bouncing up against, and that echo was beautiful. It's fucking beautiful.
well said, Blick. Well said.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you for reading this too, Derek.
Yeah.
We all miss her, and
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. It fucking sucks, right? It fucking sucks. It's like a year and a half now, and it still fucking sucks. And it's this is a really like cliched thing to say, but I legitimately, honestly hope that
I really wish Josh was next, so that and he didn't know, right? So that this could pivot to being like, look what you've got to come right after. Like we read something by our deceased friend. Do you know what I mean? Because that would be the ultimate fuck you to Sherman, and entirely like in keeping with with the style. And I think she would have liked that joke.
Josh just moved to Brooklyn. I'm gonna be meeting him soon for dinner, and I forgot.
Sherman? Josh Sherman?
Oh, no. Oh, John Padula. Never mind.
Oh,
Never mind.
Padula. Yeah.
Yeah. No. But he was really close with Eris, right?
He was.
Padula. He was really close with her, right?
And I think he's helping Expat put together a collection of her unpublished work.
Good, because I wanted to, good. Oh, I'll talk to him about it next week then. Okay, great.
All right, so I feel bad about Derek saying it'd be terrible to follow this because I think up next is Sabrina and Rudy. I think a collaborative piece. Is that what's going on, Rudy?
We can handle it.
Okay, good, good. You have
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like really strange. I came into the scene after Eris was gone, or like just as she was leaving. And a super strange coincidence is that I'm from the same place that she's from. Like we were born in the same San Fernando Valley that she mentions, which I always think is it like it's a ghostly feeling even for me. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, Rudy.
Yep.
I just want to make sure about something.
Mhm.
If we put up the slides and I talk on video, is it going to pull away on Zoom from the slides, or can you make sure that it doesn't
Nope.
go to my face?
I don't think it'll pull away. It should, if I screen share it, it shouldn't pull away.
Okay.
I think you're right, Rudy. Just maybe give it a try and we'll make sure. But I think we
Yeah.
should.
Rudy, do you want to set it up a little bit like how we did it, or do you want to wait till let's wait to the end. We'll wait to the end.
What do you
Okay.
mean set it up?
Like what this is.
Oh, wait, yeah, I don't know. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter.
Now let's go in cold.
Okay, let me screen share. Ready when you are.
Yeah, ready.
You're gonna read them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mole Man always wears dark glasses, a black leather cap, button-down shirt, and vest. His energy is just barely tolerable. He is incapable of waving or smiling or issuing anything more than dark, taciturn grumblings as he passes. During the summer, Mole Man sits in his old car for the air conditioning. He sits there for hours, listening to news radio with the doors closed and all the windows rolled up. Kraftwerk crop pants is one to stay far away from. He makes no eye contact because he is a true outcast. Something grotesque about his old, mangy body with its long limbs and mysterious lumps. His outfits are insane. The most common look includes a pair of brown lederhosen, which no one wears in Berlin. He wears high, yellowing compression socks that leave just a boyish sliver of thigh visible, and a dingy cotton shirt with the filth of tenements buried in it. His jacket is a tweed Frankenstein, sewn from multiple jackets with long lines of garish red stitching holding it together. This ensemble is strange enough, but he debuted an all-black version of the look. It was both exciting and shameful. He was serving peasant boy fetish realness. Hansel wants a handy. Levi was with you that day. The two of you joked about the all-black look, but neither of you laughed too hard because he is truly tragic. Mr. Rogers always seems upbeat. He is a good citizen in the way that only the mentally disabled can be. He smiles and exchanges pleasantries with his neighbors. He receives pleasantries back. His presence represents the wisdom of the fool and equally the foolishness of wisdom, a forever child of God. Eleanor Rigby comes regularly to practice English in her hollow voice. She doesn't buy anything and doesn't behave like a customer. She has to be told to go or else she never leaves. There is something obstinate about her flavor of neurodivergence. Once she showed up with a bag of chocolate wafers and a bowl in her purse. She ate her wafers and occupied the green couch by the dressing room for hours. She read Dylan Thomas quotes aloud from her phone, while potential customers tried to ignore her. She is exhaustingly sad. The pirate is a Ukrainian musician who always wears two scarves, one tied around his waist and one wrapped across his head. He has neck tattoos and a somber face. He brought scarves to the store and inquired about tailoring, which you arranged. He paid handsomely for the service. What sort of life requires that many scarves? Once, early on, he brought his girlfriend with him. She was small and jewel-like, a pirate's delight. Recently, he brought more scarves and issued careful instructions. 40 centimeters on the long side, and for this one, make it 50-50. You asked about his girlfriend. No, she is gone, he said heavily. This open relationship culture in Berlin, it doesn't align with my traditions or my values. Poor pirate, poor lonely pirate. Me and Marina lives directly across the street from the store. She is opera finale fat. She wears a thick layer of pancake makeup on her sneering face. She leans out the window smoking for hours at a time. Based on her grimacing face, you thought she was only mean and disapproving, but she is also kind in her way. She knows all the crows and feeds them. She knows specific crow family units. She knows the red squirrels and leaves treats for them on her windowsill. Once, mid-weed oil cook, when you were desperate for a cooking thermometer, you asked me, Marina, if you could use one of hers. She didn't know if she had one. She invited you inside to look. Her apartment was small and cheaply decorated. The air stunk of stale cigarettes and burning cigarettes and grease. The TV, which probably ran during all hours, showed a graphic medical procedure. Marina invited you to rifle through her kitchen drawers. There was no thermometer, just the sound of the TV and her labored breathing while you searched. The silver fox lives in the same building as me and Marina. He is a spry man in his 70s with a year-round tan. His eyes are true ocean blue. He buys empty tobacco containers from your store and seems to get a kick out of the whole enterprise. He must have been something in his heyday, a Clint Eastwood sort of hunk. He still reels them in. He brings his age-appropriate conquests to the store. German women with names like Agnes or Gertrude. They are polite, but never buy anything. He came by during the art opening, which was held in the backyard. You invited me and Marina too, but she didn't come. When the silver fox left, you said, "Tell Marina it was drug-filled chaos and devil worship." He winked in on the joke, that smooth black pipe clenched between his cheek muscles. And that's sort of the end, but this is, these are the prompts that we used for Midjourney. Rudy and I spent hours trying to get the images right. So the way that we tied them all together, like, so they sort of had a look, is that we did them all in the style of Rembrandt, but no painting. So yeah, it's interesting. I think some of them are kind of funny and kind of good writing in their own way.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun time having at it with Midjourney, because the prompts, like, it does sort of what you want it to do, but not totally all the time. And it surprised me, especially with the Mr. Rogers one was like a total, like, out there. Like, I don't know like how it did that from the prompt. Like, it didn't really, but I mean it was just a fun time, like, fucking around with AI art, because AI, like, it doesn't do it rarely does what you want it to do, but it always does something that it's interesting and inspires some kind of creative jaunt. So it's pretty fun. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now.
Man, this is awesome. I I was actually going to ask about how you got the images from Midjourney, but you explained that, so I won't ask that now. I really love this approach to using AI art where you're taking these pieces, which presumably, and I could be wrong here, Sabrina, are based on like real customers and real people who like come into your store and people you've encountered in the world of Berlin, right?
Yes, yeah. So I'm working I wrote a book, and actually Jeff Schneider is here, and I can mention that Pig Roast is going to publish it. So that's
Yeah.
really exciting. Yeah. And this is the first time that
Jeff,
anybody's
is,
taken a look inside.
Jeff just keeps poaching the best Misery Loves Company, best tourism, like talent, which I can't blame him. He's here every week and he knows what he's doing. Sorry, Sabrina.
No, it's great. Yeah, but so anyway, like a lot of the book is about my life running this store, and these are real people that pass by like on a daily basis, and I wrote these little like portraits of them, and then I was trying to figure out how to get their actual images down. I thought about having an artist that was like a sketch artist come, and then I would like point those people out to them, but it's really hard and invasive for these people to do that. So then I just thought about Rudy and the AI art, and I thought that this was a good way to do it without without exploiting them too hard.
No, I think this is a wonderful way to handle that and to address that problem the because the AI art has that like uncanny quality, it actually like if you had like hired a sketch artist to sit there and draw them, you might have had a more accurate rendition of them as human beings. But I actually think like since the writing itself here is an act of caricature, right? It's an act of caricature through language. It makes much more sense to have the AI produce something that looks not only like caricature, but that kind of makes him a little otherworldly, a little uncanny. It actually like reminds me of there's almost like a fantasy component to this. It almost reminds me of something like, and only Rudy will get this or care about this, but something like the Monster Manual from D&D, or something like one of those collections that they sell where it's like a bunch of different sci-fi and fantasy creatures illustrated or something with little blurbs about them. It's really like it takes these very mundane people and turns them into something oddly mythic and oddly fantastical. And it's so in keeping with the blurbs, because the blurbs are doing the same thing. They're like looking at the essence of these people and finding something unusual about them, finding something off about them. And I think that the interplay between the two is fantastic.
William, can I jump in here? Because one of the things you talk about the fantasy, it connected me with something I loved from years ago that Derek did, which was he did a collaboration with his daughter, and it was he lit up these houses, had this like it was, and then he had overtext. And I really loved it. While I was seeing these images, the first thing I got was this is like a this is like I think I put down like a very high school yearbook, you know, all the different characters in it. But then I was thinking like these images are so intense that I was thinking of Derek's architectural environment that he made with lights and things. And in each room in these houses and things he built are these characters. Then there would be a voice, somebody reading who these characters are. As you know, it's like going through a tour of the house or something. So I'm just saying I love the images and I love the idea of presenting this as a kind of an art installation, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, something that William touched on. I think when Sabrina asked me about this, like I thought it's almost like bestiary, like a bestiary of people. Like
Yeah,
that's
you know,
you'd be you'd be
Yeah.
afraid to, you
Yeah.
know, like you said, to sketch someone. It's like offensive. It'd be offensive to do that, right? I mean, just go and say, "Hey, can I sketch you for this bestiary of people?" Because that's what it is. That's what these stories that Sabrina made. They basically like paint people as like not monsters, but you know, as like creatures, right? I mean, not like creatures of kind of
right,
sort of,
Rudy.
but like it's
Yeah,
and you can
no,
it's vivid, but it's like that's something that's not like socially like people feel weird about that.
oh yeah, no, I mean, the thing is like most of them I don't even really talk to, and they still walk by every day and they have no idea that they're famous. That they're famous now.
Yeah, they're immortalized.
You've turned him into literary cosplay, you know?
Exactly.
You know, Rudy, when you mentioned the bestiary thing, I have to give a shout out to Tyler in the chat who mentioned Barlow's Guide to Extraterrestrials, and that's exactly what I was thinking of when I made my comment, but I had forgotten the name of the book and figured nobody else like cared about it. But people should look it up because it's like basically I had it when I was like, oh my God, when I was like a kid, when I was like in elementary school. And it's basically like this illustrated guide that took a bunch of different like aliens from different like literary works. And then they had an artist go in and illustrate all of them. And the illustrations are like tremendous if you're 8 years old. But anyway, it's a very similar vibe where you have like the bio of the creature and then you have an artistic representation of the to it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
Anyway, that was awesome stuff. And Rudy, don't mute your mic because you are up next.
Yep, I'm gonna read some poetry. Couple poems here. I'm trying to pull it up on my phone because my computer is shit. Okay, so I have the link here. Oh, you dropped the link already. Okay. Hey, bye, Rick. Take it easy. Okay, so this first one is called Pro Evolution Soccer 2015, and this is about my love of Brazil and also about the game League of Legends, which has inspired love and hatred of Brazil and Brazilian things. In the favelas, we are Catholic as feck. We only play procreationism soccer and League of Legends. Hat trick for Saint Pele. Hate trick for little devil Timo. Reported for racism, faggot. When angels buried fossils here on Earth, they also buried treasures in Brazil. Gold that shines like the polished skulls of indigenous peoples marked "Do not interact," like me after I'm flagged for zero tolerance language. Gold, a natural landmine, veins as loaded as River Phoenix. God damn this cryo Phoenix. Carlos Tefota, please ward River. Gold, torching past through our hearts of darkness, since Portugal, the man, derogatory, planted invasive boots, and we feel it still. They're fire seeds, and if I seed into bronze, I will throw my fat, pregnant wife through the overturned window. This next one is called Things to Do in Gaza When You Are Dead. Imagining the girl from A Girl Walks Home Alone at night, secretly skateboarding down Gaza Strip at night, waylaying Israeli soldier boys because she loves bad guys, not being true to those soldier boys like the Sherelle song recommends, but maybe leaving them dead or photobombing random war TikToks. After the 19th TikTok vid, the army becomes concerned. Reports of Iranian intervention. Now it's a vampire hunt. Twitter talking about how ironic it is for Israelis to be killing vamps while also killing children. Lol. IDF forms a special brigade detailing some of the Fortnite boys who dress up as civilians to infiltrate hospitals to a detachment of vampire hunters. Badass gear, anti-hero cosplay. They raid a house near a graveyard. Which one? And find her strung out, immersed, dancing to shitty indie music. Guns go off, then silence. Soldiers laid out. Are they dead or are they sleeping? Tumbleweed. The next night, the girl is back skating while IDF bulldozes a cemetery. She doesn't see herself in this variety of predators. No mirror neurons. Vampires don't have reflections, even internally. That's it.
Rudy, man, these are great. These are great. I sorry, I'm still caught up on Portugal, the man derogatory. That is a fantastic, and within the context, right, of Brazil and colonization and all of that, that is just a fantastic turn of phrase. It's exactly the kind of turn of phrase that you excel at in your poems, where you take a thing and then completely subvert and turn upside down and inside out its meaning. So I love that. And this this poem is full of moments like that too. Man, I am legitimately jealous of the like throw my fat pregnant wife through the Overton window line, because I actually have a half-finished poem in a document that utilizes the Overton window too, and I'm angry that you got to the Overton window poem before I did. But no, I love I I love like the tension in this poem between like the socio-political situation in Brazil and just being pissed off about video games. And you, as is usual of your work, like you never lose that tension throughout. It never becomes like the video games never become like a metaphor for the situation in Brazil, right? Instead, it's just that tension throughout where it's like when it's like a war between like this being a kind of socio-political poem and and this being a poem about how pissed you off you are that some Brazilian guy beat you in League of Legends. And the fact that you never let resolve that tension in the poem, I think is really beautiful. And there's a similar kind of tension going on in the Gaza poem too that I really appreciate, where it never really becomes like a political poem with a statement, but instead like exists as this kind of like oddly fraught a girl walks home at night fan fiction and refuses to become anything else, right? Like when you start to think, oh, this is gonna like become like a political statement about the war in Gaza, it's like no, it is. You even talk about the like Schrodinger liminal shit in the poem itself, with the "are they dead or are they sleeping" thing, and that's something I appreciate about your work more generally, and it's definitely in full force here. So I dig it, man.
Thank you. I think
Oh,
I think Ryan's going off about support issues. I totally understand. I won't say anything much else, but goddamn, what League has done to supports and what these games in general do to support. Oh, Dota. Okay, yeah. So you really know, you really felt the pain then. Oh goodness. Anyway, thanks for letting me read.
thank you, Rudy. And uh-oh, I think I'm sensing that Jan may be working into you again.
yes, I believe I'm being warged into.
Uh-oh. Jesus, Jan, maybe pick another target one time. Like, if you've got this, like, I don't want to consider the implications if Rudy is the only one you have the power to warg into. So, like, all right, Rudy, Jan, what do you have for us tonight?
Okay, so I'm reading a piece by Jan called The Arcturian Genocide. Let me begin. November 1833, August 1863, January 1893. Near 30 years ago, as a boy, not yet the president of these United States, the church deacon woke him like God calling, saying, Abraham, Abraham, it is the last day. And he went outside and saw the stars pouring down like rain on Illinois. Casualties on both sides were in the mid-thousands last month. Better than last year. At the observatory, he mulls over the plausible execution of Davis, telescope erupting from his famously hideous face, cratered like the moon, which Mr. Hall points out is only half as bright as it normally would be in the sky. He waits for Hall to rotate the telescope some degrees to the left, thinking of all the boys that have come home since Gettysburg. Mr. President? Yes? It's ready for you now, sir. Thank you, Asaph. I would like to be alone. She is fourth brightest in the dark overhead. He is thin and hunched over like a bird at low tide in some dismal swamp, sickly, and overall, he thinks, not feeling well. 37 years for the light to reach us, Paul had said. 37 years for what? He thinks, staring at this red dot, tattered at the edges, like a pin of sunlight seen through a crack in a closet door he once hid in as a boy. 1,000 times as luminous as ours, the same now as it were 37 years ago, picturing the cold planets that rotate above him now, too distant to imagine, but he does. He sees the worlds around Arcturus in broad strokes, the way he sees China or Peru. He cannot see the bags of severed hands, unrecognizable as human, but readily recognizable as hands, hacked off some 37 years ago, the same dead light that shone down on happy firing squads and hordes of unknowable but still human misery wraps around the earth and goes on and on forever, carrying with it the unheard positions of a people who he feels know the same God, murdered in alien temples, now ruins, only animals unknown to any human being there to gnaw on the bones. He shivers and sweats under a malign star, knowing that ours carries what we do off into the night, trapping every moment and sustaining it. Nearly 2 years later, the sun carries his martyrdom to foreign planets, soundless, in space. And his dying moments, bleeding, he thinks that this is how angels speak.
Holy fuck. Holy fuck. This is sorry. I got a little bit too exuberant about this one. I love this fucking poem so much. This is so fucking good. So Jan, obviously, we've talked about this a little bit. So I haven't seen this poem before. Rudy read it, but we've talked about like the project you're working on here, the like Dark Americana project, and this is such a good and fitting piece in that larger collection, in that larger project, because first of all, like I have great admiration for your audacity here because Lincoln is so widely and largely viewed as this like hagiographic figure, right? As this kind of untouchably saintly man whose like legacy is not to be questioned in any way. And instead you've rendered him like with such a dark brush here. And it's fitting in a lot of ways. Like, first of all, love the opening here, the like biblical opening where it like the Old Testament, like Abraham, right, is juxtaposed on Lincoln. Like that is just such a like haunting touch. But in addition to that, like it's fairly well known that Lincoln was like a deeply depressed dude, and the idea of having him like looking up into the night sky through a telescope and like grappling simultaneously with like the empty darkness of the universe while being like a deeply depressed dude, and also grappling with like the the horrifying implications of the Civil War, and also like how it's like how the tremendous slaughter of that war is only a speck in the vast universe of human suffering. And the way that you do that in this poem, where like you're out in the universe but you're also like in the dark reaches of human history at the same time. Jesus, man, Jesus, I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm rambling here because this piece is so fucking good. I'm really legitimately and authentically in awe of it. So Jan, I really liked it, is what I'm saying. Um, and
Jan,
thank you, Rudy, for providing an outlet again for Jan's perverse unwillingness to read his own work.
Jan. So like I told you this, but this reminds me of Jules Verne a lot, and like the just weird like I mean the way you approach Lincoln here is really cool, like William said, because like you can see his gears moving in this poem, right? Like but like where like especially the part where like the like time is kind of unfolded, and he says like 37 years for the light to reach us. You can like you can almost see Lincoln, like his mind moving, like what does that mean for me, like in my what does this mean for my politics or my, in 37 years, like, like fuck, like how can I use this, how can I use this in a strategy or something like that. But it's just a really cool like concept in general, like just this like the void of space mixed with the void of like the Civil War era like time period, which is just a fucking shitty time to be around, pretty much. But it's awesome, Jen. Love it.
All right. So, Rudy, you can finally mute your mic because Michael is up next, and I think he's capable of reading his own work.
I don't know, Rudy, if you want to jump in here. I've got something that's over 3,000 words if you're interested.
Oh boy. I don't know if you can bargain to me though, because Jan already has the bond or whatever, so I'm not.
Yeah, isn't there like a 24-hour cooling off period or something?
Right, the cooldown, right?
Like a long rest feels like at minimum. Cool. All right, so I just shared the link. I think I'll try, Jan. I'll try. I think this link works. Cool. So this is something that I started writing this week. This is very much like a first draft. So things like the title and the ending are very much up for grabs. But I wanted to try it out. I heard a really funny story over the weekend, and with my friend's blessing, I tried to write something in a similar vein. So here it goes. It's called Chemical Toilet Summer. 5 days after my wife left for Italy, I learned I was going to be a father. My wife was traveling with her sisters, a 4-week ramble between the major cities in the peninsula. The nausea had begun in Venice, and after 3 days, her sisters took my wife to a clinic. The doctor there suggested a pregnancy test, which she took, an off-the-shelf brand, early in the morning. I'd been in bed for an hour when she called. She said she was scared, sitting on a cold bathroom floor in a foreign country. I offered to catch the first flight out. She told me not to worry and that her eldest sister was looking up doctors on the internet. I told her to tell her sisters not to go with the first option she found, that plenty of doctors just want to take your money. She told me she felt sick, but grateful that now she knew why. I told her to drink some water. I listened as she turned on the faucet and chugged a few mouthfuls from the faucet. She told me she loved me, and I told her I loved her too. And that was on a Sunday around 1 in the morning local time. For 6 hours, I shifted and contorted in bed, unable to sleep, until dawnlight inched across the floor. I rose and paced the house. Everything seemed up for reevaluation. The placement of furniture, the use of the spare room for a home office, what sorts of food I bought, how recklessly I allowed myself to be with income. I left my house and drove to the grocery store, wandered the aisles. A feeling difficult to describe even now filled me when I saw a man and a woman with their baby. Something akin to being on the cusp of crying, but throughout my entire body. I wondered if this was the ascent of evolutionary programming, long dormant and now ascendant. They left the aisle and I began to cry, tears of happiness and terror, tears of a life forever changed. I drove home in a frenzy, swearing on all things holy that I would give up the occasional cigarette, fast food, late night gaming, expensive shirts, cryptocurrency, Twitter porn, and anything else that might impede the path to ideal fatherhood. The next morning, I was fired. I was working as a news editor at the time for a sort of successful digital news startup focused on the payments industry, stuff like credit cards and those little machines you swipe your cards through. There's a whole industry, but not enough people cared about that industry, and so the high gods of cost cutting descended to deliver their justice. I received an email at exactly 9 a.m. telling our team that layoffs are happening and anyone not affected should be around for a call in an hour. 30 seconds later, an invitation to a video call arrived. I didn't recognize the people on the call. Later, I was told they'd been brought in specifically for the layoffs, the firings. The distinction doesn't matter. I was told the company needed to restructure to maximize its financial resources amid adverse market conditions. That's the language they used. 50-cent words from people wearing $200 suits. I asked whether I was being fired because of my performance. They told me I was being laid off and that they couldn't talk about my performance. I asked if the company had run out of money. They told me the company needed to restructure to maximize its financial resources amid adverse market conditions. I asked who else was being let go. They told me they couldn't say because of privacy concerns. I asked if I had any other questions. I said no. The call lasted 8 minutes, and I was told I'd receive severance information by the end of the day. They ended the call, and over the next 45 seconds was expelled from the company. Email, live chat, website backend access. Drummed out like a leper. I stood and walked to the window and looked out over our backyard. The backyard was a flat half-acre of green and yellow patchy grass dominated by an in-ground pool. It's why we bought the place. We were drawn by the power to swim whenever we wanted. The cost of upkeep, the maintenance, and the chemicals have become a more routine pastime than any laps we rarely swam. Now it sparkled a turquoise rectangle in the sun. What I needed now was money. Money for a child, a family, a mortgage, for the hidden traps that sap a wallet in the American age of malaise. I spent the morning ringing up old colleagues and chance contacts, anyone who might stand one handshake between me and a source of income. Nothing. I wasn't unique, I found. Some I spoke to were jobless themselves and spoke conspiratorially about the artificial intelligence they feared was discarding their resumes unread. Those who did have jobs regarded at the prospect of trying to bring me on, as if by opening the door they risked their own exile. For a long time, I stared at my phone and considered calling my wife. I paced the house, circled the pool. I decided to wait until she returned. Like me, she was a natural worrier. I was worried for her and worried about the child. You got to tell her at some point, my brother told me later. I called to tell him what happened. When she gets back, I said. She'll kill you when she finds out you didn't tell her sooner. It's not exactly fair to the kid either. Congratulations, by the way. Thanks. So what are you going to do? Well, I've got a few weeks to figure it out, start applying for new jobs, and try to find some cash along the way. I have a buddy who rents out his couch to people passing through. It's some nice cash in his pocket, especially during the busy months. Well, I don't want people stinking up the couch. What about the pool? What do you mean? You could rent it out. It's summertime. It's damn hot where you are. I bet people would give you cash to use it. Well, how do I go about doing that? There's got to be an app for it. There are apps for all types of bullshit. If you can rent a couch, you can rent a pool. He was right. That afternoon, I downloaded the app and made an account, punched in the details of our pool. The app allowed me to set hourly and daily rates. I wasn't sure what to put, but the app provided an estimate based on the size of the pool. The app asked me if I had a bathroom for people to use. I frowned. I didn't want people making a mess in the house, but I didn't want them to piss or shit in the yard either. I checked the box and hit submit. That night, I dreamt that my wife gave birth to a boy. We moved to a strange city of metal pipes that I knew to be New York City. We rented a pipe that was red-colored and constantly full of steam. I took a job at a newspaper in what looked like the engine room of a ship. The stories I edited were written in smoke. I couldn't find my way back to the apartment, lost in blue pipes, brown pipes, orange pipes. Strangers spoke a language I couldn't understand. A guy and his girlfriend booked a 2-hour rental the next day. When they arrived, I let them inside and guided them to the pool. The woman squinted and frowned as she stepped through the sliding door in the kitchen. Can I use your bathroom? The guy asked. Sure, the bathroom is upstairs. It's the first door on the left. Thanks, said the guy, and he left us. The woman stripped down to her bra and underwear, took her phone from her purse, and went and sat beside the pool. She slid her legs into the water. I stood by the sliding door, unsure of what to do. The woman seemed to sense my indecision and squinted at me. You don't need to chaperone us. Thanks. Dismissed by the thanks, on my own property, I went back inside. I ate 2 oranges and looked through the window. The woman, hunched over, legs in the water, still on her phone. I heard a flush from upstairs. A minute later, another. Then heavy footsteps rumbled down the stairs. The guy passed through the kitchen, didn't look at me. He went outside and left the sliding door halfway open. Through the window, I watched him descend a ladder and start a slow lap to the far end of the pool. Upstairs was a mess. Toilet paper coiled on the floor, water pooled beside the toilet and sogged the rug. My toothbrush lay beside the sink instead of in its small glass cup. The tube of toothpaste was in the wastebasket. Inside the toilet lurked the greatest crime, a splatter of unflushed shit. I expelled a few come-ons, twisted around and resurveyed the wreck, the indignity, the dishonor. The couple was fucking in the pool when I returned. The woman gripped one of the shallow end corners as the guy thrusted and grunted against her. Water surged up onto the concrete. I let loose another come on, but it wasn't until I approached that they noticed me. What the hell are you doing? I shouted. Swimming, said the guy. I watched him pull his shorts back on. Right, I said. And what about the bathroom? Well, what about it? You made a goddamn mess. It's like that when I found it. That's bullshit. What, you got cameras in the place? Yeah, maybe I do. Well, that's fucked up if you do. Huge invasion of privacy. As we argued, the woman climbed out of the pool and walked over to a small metal table. She picked up her phone and began to type. The bookings continued, mostly teenagers, sometimes chaperones, sometimes not. Sometimes they left cigarette butts and dead vape pens on the table. Sometimes they cleaned up after themselves. I rented a plastic chemical toilet and positioned it on a patch of dead grass near the pool. I figured this would do the least damage in the likely event some of the chemicals and waste leaked out. Once every 3 days, a guy came with a truck with a big tank. He'd drag a long hose around back and suck the shit out of the chemical toilet through a side port. The bill was more than I made on a day's worth of rentals. I upped the price, but people kept coming. I wondered if there was a pool shortage in the area. Maybe it was a shortage of people willing to subject themselves and their property to strangers and the behaviors and bodily fluids they brought. A young family brought their daughter over and taught her to swim. I watched them from my upstairs office as I sent out resume after resume. I would have been better off printing them out and burning the pages. I felt like I'd committed some unseen misstep and was now out of sync with whatever it was that kept people employed. How a mouse must feel when it slips and tumbles out of its wheel. I was jealous of the time the young family had to teach another human how to live. I promised myself I would teach my child to swim. I texted my wife and told her we should give the baby swimming lessons when they were old enough. My wife sent back a smiley face and a heart. She told me it was hot in Rome and she often spent the afternoons trying to stay cool in the shade of her hotel room. She told me she drank lots of bottled water to beat back the stomach aches. An older dude booked an evening swim. He did laps for a while and sat at the small table and read a book. I washed dishes in the kitchen sink and we made eye contact. He waved at me and pointed at the seat beside him. The older dude lit a joint as I sat down. He took a drag and offered it to me. No, I don't smoke, I said. It's summer. Everyone smokes a little bit in the summer. I took the joint and took a small puff. I hadn't smoked since college. The joint tasted strong and I felt the encroaching effects almost immediately. I passed it back. Crazy thing to do, renting out a pool. Well, sometimes I feel like I'm more busy renting out a plastic outhouse. It's good to do this, though. Extra money in the pocket. It's not much, I said. Then I said, it's not like I have a choice. I got to make some extra money. I paused and then said, a week ago I got fired from my job, right after learning I was going to be a dad. The high came on strong, and I wondered if this feeling was because I spoke about fatherhood. It must be that, I thought. I felt the fatherhood at my fingertips and my loins, and it took everything in me not to just tumble from the chair. Then the older dude said, you'll be fine, man. What makes you say that? Well, men have become fathers since the whole damn thing started. You got to figure numbers wise, there's got to be a couple of million of us who got shit canned with a baby on the way. And then they probably didn't have a nice spot like you do, pool and stuff. That's stuff you can work with. The older dude stubbed the joint out on the table. Part of me wished he hadn't done that, but the other part of me could barely stand the wait for his next words. But how? I asked. How? I asked again. The older dude laughed. I don't have kids, but I got some nieces and nephews. Their parents are bright. Well, kinda. Maybe you got to sell some stuff, sell the house, or another gig will come along. What sort of work do you do? Journalism. I'm a journalist. People are always looking to learn what's happening. I don't think that goes away. Maybe. We stopped speaking, and after a few minutes, the older dude stood and went back in the pool. I watched him swim as the sky darkened until I could barely see his outline in the water. I followed his movements by the sound of his splashing, and not once did he ask for me to turn on the light. Cars crowded the street on a hot Saturday. I'd agreed to host a 40th high school reunion. Gray-haired gaggles crowded the lawn. Someone wheeled in their meat smoker and set it up by the pool. A fold-out table crowned with liquor bottles glinted beneath the cloudless sky. I watched from my office window as 30-something drunks in their late 50s wandered the lawn and yelled at one another. An hour later, the crowd had grown by at least 2 dozen. They just kept coming. People bobbed in the pool, some in bathing suits, some fully dressed. I went out the front door and found 2 guys directing cars to park on the front lawn. They held glasses full of brown liquor in their hands. "What are you doing?" I asked them. "Finding spots for people. Your street's a parking lot, buddy," one of them said. He was shirtless and his hairy skin was pink from sun exposure. "Why did you invite so many people?" the other guy asked. "It's not my party. I just rented out the pool to someone." The 2 men laughed and returned to whatever conversation they'd been having. I walked around back and watched a scuffle break out between 2 old guys. They'd been arguing about an old girlfriend who was also present. They fell against a table of liquor bottles. Glass and booze spewed across the concrete. I watched a stream of mixed liquor sluice toward the pool. The crowd seemed unwilling to separate the men. I went inside. Fearing further destruction, I called the police station. A tired-sounding man answered. I explained what was happening. He laughed. "And you want us to come out and bust them?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "Buddy, there's probably a half dozen off-duty cops in that crowd right now. We show up and it's our asses for it. Just tell them to calm down and stay off the neighbor's lawn." I heard the cop laugh again as he hung up. I went back upstairs to my office. My wife had texted photos while I was gone. She felt well enough to brave a museum. She posed and made silly faces beside some statues. I wished I was there. I wished I still had a job. I wished I wasn't renting out my pool by the hour. A great chorus of terror rose from outside. I ran downstairs and out the sliding door. Someone had tipped the chemical toilet over. A torrent of blue-brown fluid stretched across the grass, across the concrete, and into the pool. Someone screamed as they tried to avoid the encroaching shit fluid. Clambering out of the pool, the crowd began to scatter. I didn't know where to begin to react. "Yes," I told someone who grabbed me by the arm and asked if they should go. "I think it's probably a good time to leave," I said. I had a job interview at a marketing agency the morning before my wife returned. It was a first-round interview, a formulaic exercise, a professional flirtation. They asked if I was excited about a job pivot, and I told them I was, which was a lie, but a soft lie, a coloration. They said they'd be in touch and ended the call. I went out to the patio to check on the pool cover. I'd become anxious about its integrity since I pulled it back over. Something about protecting the water after it was soiled. Every other day I'd gone out, uncovered the pool, and dumped cleaning agents in the water. I gazed out over the lawn. A misshapen oval was all that remained of the chemical toilet, and the shitwater's path of destruction. For days I'd rehearsed how I'd explain the situation to my wife, the lost job, the failed efforts to make money, the tiny slice of hope from the interview. I imagined using different voices, something deeper than normal, to express more confidence that I possessed. That's the right path. That's the right move, I told myself. But when she arrived, I couldn't speak. I pulled her close and clutched her warmth and the warmth from the person growing inside her. My child, our child. I forgot about the shame and the nervousness, about money and jobs, about how I'd need to explain why we wouldn't be able to spend as much anymore or swim in our pool for a while. She said that the driver had driven her home carefully after I told him I was pregnant. She said that her bags were out front and needed to be collected. "Not now," I said. "Not now." That's it.
Man, Michael, I love this story. I love the way this story is structured too, because yes, like all of the stuff about renting the pool is like hilariously funny, and it's also like a really like novel and effective, like as a piece of like as an anecdote, right, as a piece of humorous situational writing. But the way it's nested within this bittersweet larger story about fatherhood, and also within a story about like the present like fucked up economy we have, where like many like legitimate, you know, like actual professions are dying, while like the gig economy and the app-based economy and the like variations on Airbnb explode, and all, you know, it, all of those pieces feel like they shouldn't fit together, but they fit together perfectly in this. They're like nested together in this perfect, wonderful way, where you have a story that's like legitimately really funny in parts, but also really bittersweet, and also like a legitimately like moving portrait of a dude struggling with unemployment and oncoming fatherhood, and it just like comes together so beautifully is what I'm trying to say. It's a great piece, Michael, and
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I really enjoyed it. My parents have a pool. I hope that rented pool app doesn't exist in
It
real.
does. It's a real thing.
No,
Yeah,
I hope they never
that's a
become
real
that,
thing you can do.
because this sounds like the most horrifying thing in the world.
No, so my friend, his like aunt and uncle like did this, and he said that like this, and the general like bone of the story where like, you know, people trashed their bathroom and so they got a porta potty, and then he said that they had like they rented out their pool to some teenagers, and they invited a bunch of friends over, and at that point they had gotten a porta potty, so they didn't want people using their bathroom, and yeah, like someone knocked it over and it like went right in the pool. So
Oh
I was like,
no.
I need to record this somewhere because the story is too funny. So
I Oh God, I hate that so much.
yeah,
All right. Yeah, thanks, Michael. That was
yeah,
fantastic.
thanks.
And is Cletus with us? Has Cletus returned?
Hello.
Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. I'm sad I didn't get to hear the other readers except Michael. And Michael, the story was very good. Uh, but yeah, my internet was effed up, so I apologize for the weirdness.
You sound perfect now. You're not breaking up at all, so fingers.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I guess I'll read then. Um, so for the first time in a long time, I wrote a little short fiction, but it's basically a poem. This is called Small Town Living. There's a Confederate statue in the center of my town. It's a white stone spire about 40 feet tall, with a man holding a rifle carved on top. Some nights, the man climbs down. He breaks into a bar across the street, gets drunk, and yells about how Union troops burned his barn. I call him a racist piece of shit. He chases me along the road. When I'm caught, I scream for help, but nobody's around. Everyone is inside their houses with their blonde children and dogs reading the Bible. They hear what sounds like a gunshot. They're used to the sound by now. So that was the short fiction piece. The rest are poems. This is called Alternate Reality, where I succumb to my white trash upbringing. It's like herding snakes through a forest fire. The homing pigeon of misery is my baby mama's text messages. I make meth with some man named Jesus who is not God. Life started after Dad shot our dog. I have 12 dogs now. And this is a poem I wrote after watching a really good movie. This is called Poem Written After Watching Tetsuo the Iron Man. I'm becoming a man, which is to say disfigured beyond recognition. My penis is a sewage pipe. There are pieces of metal in my brain called shame. They attract pain like a magnet. Silverware in the socket tickles. Tenderness shocks me. Roses burst from your chest, just so I can watch them die. Let's make a dead new world. We'll rust this world into the dust of the universe. You're literally my better half. I can't get enough sex with hate. I'm becoming a gun, which is to say an agent of dramatic change. And this is one, it's basically affirmations for me, but I kind of turned it into a poem. This is a letter to myself and my OCD. Terrorists will not castrate you in a garage. No one is hiding under your bed with a machete. Flipping the light switch 7 times will not dispel demons if there are demons. And if there are demons, there are also angels. You should not swallow the whole bottle of gabapentin, propranolol, Vraylar, vilazodone. You should call your dad, say thanks for support during this difficult season. Lung cancer isn't a faint cough. Testicular cancer isn't a case of blue balls after watching someone hot walk down the street. Your cat does not have a contagious and incurable disease. You are not a pedophile. You are not a serial murderer. Death is inevitable, but you're young and have time to enjoy life. People will be human, which is to say assholes. A spam call is not a secret agency trying to harvest your organs. The consensual dick pics you sent in college did not include your face. The sun will explode, but you will be a spirit by then. Guns must remain unpurchased. You should take more naps. God is probably benevolent. You do not transform into a wolf every full moon. You hate evil. Tomorrow will be a little easier. There are thousands of tomorrows, most likely. Morning greets you like a god of pain, but then comes night with cute nocturnal rodents. All right, well, thanks a lot, y'all. Y'all are very kind, and I really appreciate that, so thank you.
Coleman, as usual, this rocked. You burned the house down, man. I want to talk about the affirmations poem first, because I love what you do there, because superficially, as you said, this is a list of affirmations, right? Superficially, this is a list of things that you tell yourself to feel better about life. But hidden within each and every one of them is an intrusive thought, right? Is the opposite, is the like potential for the dark possibility that you're trying to suppress. And the way you handle that in this poem is so good, where it's so insidious, right? Even as it is superficially a poem, or a list of things that you tell yourself to feel better about life, it's also a list of things that you're secretly terrified of. And the tension there between those is, oh man, it kills. And my favorite, the one that I think like really encapsulates that out of the list is God is probably benevolent, right? Like that word probably is doing so much beautiful heavy lifting, excuse me, there. And the way that like fits into the larger collection of aphorisms, and the like twist of the knife there, I think is like indicative of the twist of the knife throughout the piece. And all, man, for the first few pieces, like there were so many wonderfully effective lines. As someone who like grew up in a white trash area himself and is back living in that white trash area, I love that first poem, and I love the your life began with your dad shot your dog, and now you have 12 dogs. Like the the like the terrible like self-fulfilling prophecy, the despair of being trapped in a certain persona, like man, like that is just such a brutal and elegant and perfect and like funny, right, way to put to capture that. It really is, man. And all of these man, every time, you know what I'm saying. You're a phenomenally talented poet, and you have a remarkable talent for crafting really effective turns of phrase. So thank you, Coleman.
Yeah, thanks a lot, y'all.
Fuck.
Oh no, you're fine. Hey, you're
Okay.
good. I feel safe with people here. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, no, just thanks so much for the kind comments, and thank y'all for listening to especially that last one. That means a lot to me, and thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. William, you seem to know a bit about OCD, so
I do, because I have well,
yeah.
it's latent now, but I had it really bad when I was a teenager. Like, I had all the like ritualized counting behaviors and stuff where you'd have to flick the light switch so many times, or I'd have to wash my hands so many times, or I would all of the like counting behaviors inside your head. I still engage in some of them. I'll still like do a certain things a certain number of times before I can let go of them, even if it's something as simple as like closing a door. It's not nearly as debilitating as it was when I was like 15, 16 years old. Like, oh my God, I had so many behaviors like that, so many like, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
man.
you're an angel, and y'all are angels, and it means a lot to me that y'all listened to the last one. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for reading. Um, Closing out the night here is Colton.
Hey, what's up, Rudy? Can you hear me? Or not Rudy? William, you're not black.
I don't know if Rudy can hear you. I assume he can, though,
I'm not
if I
black
can hear
either.
you.
Right. Okay, but my mic is working. The link y'all got that link, right?
Yes,
Okay.
put it in the
Yep.
chat, I believe.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm reading pieces that I've already read before, but they were either edited or published. So this first piece, kind of following Rudy's, all about the Gaza Israel situation. It's in Abuser, that's been published by Pigros Publishing. So if y'all want to follow the link and buy the book, please do. The other piece I have tonight, I read last week, but I wanted to edit it more and also read it while not being at a pinball tournament and having to like read it super fast to like kind of like actually sink your teeth into it. So, all right, this first piece is called Forced Fertilization and the Creation of Paradise. Fabio, hey cat, hey, get away. Sorry, my cat's trying to eat my food. Fabio Frizzi's Zombie 2 main theme, covering your ears with a fuzzy blanket and looking at the tiny speck of hallway light protruding through your front door keyhole. Then you hear the knock. Saying grace before eating food wrapped in tinfoil, enjoying a soak in a small bathtub filled with rubber ducky isopods. Writing on a bathroom wall, 2023. Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts. T-Mac, Jesus Christ song, YouTube. I'm gay and bipolar. Please help me. Call XXXXXXX. Kiss, Cold Jen. Lick some balls for some meth. Do drugs, they make you smart. No, yes. If death rates is high, then why are we having the Iraq genocide? Warning, don't fall into the rabbit hole. Wiki search, Darwin Correspondence Project, letter number 3356, letter number 3357, letter number 3411. James Bateman's Package Full of Flowers, sent to Charles Darwin January and February of 1862. And Gracum sesquipedale, Star of Bethlehem orchid, abnormally lengthy nectarine, necessitating unusual proboscis. Who is this mysterious pollinator? On the various contrivances by which British and foreign orchids are fertilized by insects, and on the good effects of intercrossing. Darwin, 1862. Creation by Law, 1867. Alfred Russel Wallace predicts African Sphinx moth. 20th century, an age of discovery. A revision of the Lepidopterus family. Sphingidae. Why did they make these things? Just call it something easy. Specimen found. Location, Madagascar. Xanthopan morgani predicta. Discoverers, Rothschild and Jordan, 1903. Walter Rothschild, zoologist, conservative, Zionist. In popular culture, World War I partition of the Ottoman Empire. Letter 4, Walter, from Arthur James Balfour. Contents: the Balfour Declaration, 1917. His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object. It being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, LOL, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. Little 5-year-old boy getting yelled at by his mom at the YMCA swimming pool because he called this bald lady bowling ball while not realizing the woman had recently started chemo. I keep old photos of fat me so that even when I feel like shit, I can remind myself that I've done something right. Being accused and called out on a bunch of social media sites, the usual rape and abuse stuff. I think about the fighter plane filled with bullet holes, survivorship bias. How do I help this thing fly better? What can I do? Who do you trust? Who is allowed to relapse? Only those who destroy themselves? I bet the parents of those kids who shot up schools think about destruction. What are the signs we're supposed to look for now? At what point exactly do we stop finding beauty in decay? No parent wants to think that their child isn't human. No parent wants to see their baby become a monster, because of the implications. Dainty doozy darling with peeling palms and bleeding knuckles. Her fingers are covered in tattoos. Don't forget to buy your boozy bottled brew. Don't forget her Monster Energy drink. Don't forget to be anxious about your writing. Don't forget to be anxious in general. Closing up fresh wounds with super glue and duct tape. Guillotine Mother Nature. Motherfucking Mother Nature. Witnessing wild warriors swinging their swords, claiming their right with a dagger to the brain. So this image here, the next project that I'm working on, I wanted to put pictures in it from like back when I started taking pictures in 2018 to now, just to like have like a complementary like piece of like visual with image. And I was reading that Andre Breton, he put images in some of his surrealist works, and so like at the end of the day, I've always been inspired by like surrealist writings by like Giorgio the fucking, oh my god, I forget his name, Chirico and Breton and other folks. So yeah, that's at my girlfriend's house. She's got a TV that's like really small, and it like at like 3 a.m. when I'm writing, I just left it on idle, and it just sat there with like the blue black screen that's still turned on and nothing's on, and it reminded me of that movie Skinamarink, which if y'all haven't seen it, the best way to describe that movie is I watched it with like 3 other people in a movie theater, or no, like it was me and eight other people. 5 people left, but the 4 of us that stayed were fucking traumatized. So like, it's a great movie. I highly recommend sticking out the first 30 minutes. Anyways, this next piece was inspired when I was in the library. I was printing out essays to read. It was some Freud essays, and this girl, she like comes up to the library, and she's like either like Down syndrome or like autistic or something, but she is always on her phone with her headphones in, so she can't hear how loud she is, but she will say, "Hey Siri, take a screenshot," anytime she like is just scrolling or on like a video or like lyric video or something. So she just kept saying it, and I was there for like 10 minutes, and she probably said it like 50 times, but every time it was more profound than the last, and I just kept writing. So this is, "Hey Siri, take a screenshot. Sunset clouds spread out like tiger stripes. Wired stereo earbuds that never fit right. Rifles by the door rusted by evening rain. Nerve blockers every 3 hours for pain. Warm under your shirt. The flow starts. Hot blood. Cylinders fire sin into my hands. The guessing game where I think about how you'll taste when I take off your clothes." Frederick Kolstow, The Young Carpenter, 1886. It's the feeling of sawing through wood. It's the feeling of country music on the television. It's the feeling of holding a loaded weapon. It's the feeling of putting a knife against a child's cheek. It's the feeling of building a house for a family and then watching that same house burn down with the pets still inside. It's the feeling of looking at the sky and the sky looking back at you. It's the feeling of having an addiction to Ozempic injections. It's the feeling of adding vinegar to baking soda. It's Boris Solemn's passenger listing being added to Ole Andres Larsen cemetery folder. thus documenting his journey from Norway to Quebec. It's the feeling of smoking Faulkner's nosegay cigarettes. It's the feeling of wanting the feeling of security, but the TSA sucks my asshole. So I eat the apple like Eve. It's Christmas time. I live forever like Adam, naming all the animals. It's purely angel projection, nano emulsification. I'm going to create a snuff film where I torture people dressed like superheroes. Like, imagine Captain America tied to a surgery table, hospital style. Now think about the heavy riff from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I'll use scissors to cut open Captain America's breastplate as he shouts, "Hail Hydra." I'll make him look down at his own insides and I'll yell, "Remember, this is what you're made of." Optional cheers for Punter Phonics playlists. Nicking away parts of the chest. Pink Thews Brulade. Watching the old guy at the park practicing his short putt while his son is at the trading office shorting a put option. Love 15. Shopping at the gay Kroger. Testosterone pills. The drive to be a man. We'll never forget and we'll always remember. Chile Earl and oysters. Oversnatch XXX parody. The clock goes tick-tock as time pulls hairs out of my freckles, my cock. Tennessee hot dog cuts with cheese and Fritos. Your heart is a date cut open, except I replaced your seed with mine. And I didn't eat the date. I shoved it into the ground, right by a tall Gruyere tombstone. Death as a reward for good behavior. Firewood for sale, $15 a bundle. Solo Recicle, it's all recycling only in Spanish. I don't know what was worse, 10 years of getting beat up by my kid's daddy or my addiction to alcohol. Terrorist threat, fecal matter smeared on door handle. My dad is still alive, but the drugs killed who he was. I'm the gray man, the gay man, the hey man, the be cool man, 5-0 over there with the blue mirror tag. Hey, that guy isn't a cop, he's disabled. That's what a cop would want you to think. Kids in an industrial kitchen using one dry hand and one wet hand to egg wash rice balls and blended panko crumbs. Madam Annie Cook using her brothel to house the sick during the Memphis yellow fever epidemic of the 1870s. My worst fear is association and paper clips bent straight. Is that a cactus out there or a tall man staring back at me? What does a perfect being do in the real world besides eat Swedish fish? Snuffing out corporate goths and hearing Arina Sabalenka's loud grunts on an airport bar television. A lady named Asia going for a walk while wearing red sunglasses. I'm 10 years old, naked in the public showers at the Sardis Lake camping grounds, walking on dirty tiles covered in sin and shit, looking for a clean stall to take a group shower with my new friends. Lying on your back, staring outward, sudden white lines poke through the sky. R.I.P. Tourette's guy. Hey, remember mylifeisaverage.com? Hey, let's listen to the Beatles. Komm gib mir dein Hand. A short life filled with meat extenders. Perfection comes after being chewed. Leering into an empty fountain filled with tree parts. A black plastic bag. Soda bottle caps. Loose brick rocks. A battery. Small pencils. And a Brillo pack. In the city of Memphis, there are 100 tiger statues scattered throughout the city. Not to brag, but I've had sex with over half of those statues. Parking lot Pace Arrow motorhome. Chopped up remains, different luggage compartments. Taking part in a prophecy. iPad art by David Hockney. Orange Tums tablets broken in half at the drive-thru in the app. 4-ounce flour, 1 ounce. It was an amazing roll with chopsticks. Slices of pear and ricotta on toasted bread. Blueberries stuck together by gray mold. Missing child found in wolf droppings. Add this to your dictionary. Feral like cat, feral like a cat. Alive at 2:45, thinking about nitrogen gas executions. Stevie Nicks and the war on drugs. And what tools we'll need to disrupt the cohesion of Lindy Man's sticky culture. God pussy emoting, how bizarre. Remembering Eddie, the manager from the high-end bookstore. $6 sushi on Wednesday. Small victories. I remember my last backyard burger. Do you? Exploring the impossible sex fantasy made real in the movie Acting Out 2007. Googling the natural end result qualities of a long-time decomposing body. The end of Seinfeld in 98 and the beginning of King of the Hill in 97. The United States versus Marine Corps. Microsoft Corporation decided 4 months before 9/11. I should probably put the Pepsi back, right? It's too much. One time I worked with a black DJ named Art. I miss him. You're more than dead to me. Your face is mold and bone. Phoenix, Arizona International is a dementia-friendly airport. The Dutch and their fascination with nature and stick gathering. Winter landscape with faggot gatherers conversing on a frozen lake by Josephus Gerardus Hans, 1826, 1891. These are all real paintings, by the way. I just have to make that clear. These are real. Faggot gatherers beside a river by Jacob Jan van der Matten, 1820 to 1879. Faggot gatherers by a rushing stream by Hendrik Peter Koch, 1843 to circa 1890. Faggot gatherers, Moonlight by Ludwig Munter, 1841 to 1896. Grabs 4 piping bags of whipped cream and holds them in front of my belly. Hey dude, look at my swollen milk udders. Check them out. I need to be freaking milked. Finding unhuman scratches on a wooden back door. Geez, you never see houses getting TP'd anymore. I let Indy Lit squeeze the beauty out of me. Now I'm gay. Playing the penis game at the bank and winning. The last time I prank called somebody, I called Pizza Hut and told the worker that my name was Sweaty Butts and I only ordered 1 cheese pizza, thick crust. Texas ebony, Blackstone daisies, fairy dusters with long fleshy stamens, golden eyes, and desert hackberries, all at the mercy of Mormon crickets. She owns land in Arkansas. Her ears attuned to Skinner. Her Jewish friend takes care of mentally challenged kids during the day and then gets all removed and polished, drinking miles dry London. The old woman living in the shoe. Don't forget the men living under the stairs. I'm the Oz behind myself. Fair trade. Yes, go tear yourself. And take care of yourself. Bury the rest of your shame in your unconscious. I'm in the sky, unconscious. I'm putting a beer bottle up to your eye and tilting your head back. I'm tethering the spirit of a sunbeam giant. I don't care what we do. Can we please just go outside and spark up real quick? I am shivering like a, you know what? One of these days I'm going to exploit myself into success. An ex-white supremacist trying to change his ways by leaving the brotherhood and volunteering at a local community garden. But the gardener on duty doesn't get a briefing about the new volunteers. So after she sees the swastika tattoos, she tells the ex-skinhead guy to put down his tools and leave. Don't worry, man. I'm cool with the Portuguese. You know I'm talking about jellyfish, right? Oh, I don't think you're allowed to call them that anymore, dude. People will sling cliches at you until you finally look back at them with the same dead stare that they have. Germans putting together iron caskets and the shortcomings of the Irish lifestyle during times of stress. God thinks about you in the sense that I look after I wipe. Are you the confident dog that barks at a full moon, or are you the hesitant dog nearby that barks when other dogs start to bark? Spoiler, you're the dog butthole scooting on the carpet in the house like a domesticated retard. When you choose to let the world hurt you, things will never go your way. OP is a faggot gatherer. University Yik Yak bomb threat. Bill Cosby blackface at the holiday party. The turn of the century exploitation of the American wigger. I'm not gonna lie, all this sounded way better in my head. Hold on, let me ask Siri. Hey Siri, can you take a screenshot? Hey Siri, take a screenshot. Hey Siri, take a screenshot. Hey Siri, take a screenshot. Hey Siri, take a fucking screenshot. That's it.
Colton, I love these as usual. I really appreciate getting to hear the second one again because your writing is so dense and so rich that when you read, like often like whole lines will escape me, right? So to be able to hear them again, especially to hear specific lines again, and to be able to really like appreciate them is wonderful to me. One thing I want to talk about, and this is a complete aside, but I love the fact that you finally incorporated the wet hand, dry hand method into one of your pieces because
Yeah.
to me, I think I tweeted this a while ago, but to me, like when chefs talk about the wet hand, dry hand method, that sounds like a euphemistic term that like a fascist police state would use for the process they use to compartmentalize their war crimes, right? Like the other, it's like you have one hand that does this, you have one hand that does that, and they don't touch each other. Both hands remain relatively clean and uncontaminated. But and so like I had that thought when you were reading it, just because like so much of your work and the way you handle food in your work has that kind of like insidious, morbid undertone, even as it's like delicious. And on the food point, I fucking love so much that I put many exclamation points by it in the chat. The meat extenders line, a short life filled with meat extenders, perfection comes after being chewed. That is such a good line. It's such a good line, and it it gets at something Rudy and I argue about all the time, which is like, I'm always getting after him for eating so much fast food. And I'm like, like that meat is mostly cardboard, right? Like that meat has been like, is full of filler. And he's like, no, but the filler enhances the mouthfeel. And you found like a beautiful way of getting at that, which is like that the meat extenders feel like filler. They feel empty when you're producing the burger, right? But at the end of the day, like they enhance the mouthfeel of life. And I think that was you put it in a really, really elegant and poetic way. And there's so many, I could go on and on. There's so many fucking great lines here. And sections here. I don't know if I mentioned this when I was talking about it last time, but the white supremacist with the swastika tattoos anecdote where he's trying to like turn his life around and then he gets kicked out of the public garden. That is so heartbreaking. That's like such an inherently like brutal and demoralizing story, right?
And that's a true story. That was in Arkansas when I was working in a homeless shelter, and the guy, like, people were like stealing drugs from his wife, and like he wanted to volunteer at the garden just to like do something and like be close to like the trailer home that he was living at. Like and like I never saw him be like racist or anything. I mean, he just was genuinely like this. It was he. And that was like the first thing he told me. He was like, "By the way, I used to be an ex-supremacist." I was like, "Hi, my name's Colton." It was like
Yeah.
very meetings, but yeah, it's stuff like that where it's like you're talking to a person you're not supposed to talk to, or like being in a world or being in a place where you're not supposed to be in. Just you're like, this is what it's like.
Yeah.
But to me, will always like just breaking that and putting you closer to like those uncomfortable spots. I think is like
I mean, that's a really eloquent way of putting like exactly what your writing does, right? Like it applies to more than just the story about the white supremacist. It like applies to so much of how you write, like that forcing people to contend, like not only with the uncomfortable realities of life, but doing that in a way that doesn't diminish the humanity of your subjects. And you do that so good. And I have to bring up just one last thing. I enjoy that there's this like little dog theme emerging, this dog micro theme emerging through the night between your piece and Kat's piece. So once again, another reason why it's good that you read this piece again, because you know how much I love like finding these moments of synchronicity between pieces, these like themes, the night. So that's a little one for tonight. And I think maybe that's a good point to end it on. So Colton, thank you so much. That was great work.
Thank you, William, and thank you, Rudy. Thank you, everybody else. This is why I do it right here.
Yeah, that's great. Good work. And congrats again on the book.
Yes, by Abuser from Big Rose Publishing.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna end it there. Getting late. So this has been Misery Loves Company. We do this every fucking week, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. And I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who read tonight. A big thank you to Ryan, to Kat, to Blick, to Derek, to Sabrina, to Rudy, to Jan, Morgan, to Rudy, to Michael, to Cletus, and to Colton, and I guess posthumously to Eris as well. So yeah, thank you guys. It's been a wonderful night. I think I already did the we do this every week spiel, but if you're watching this on YouTube, anyone is welcome to come and join us as long as you don't troll. Anyone is welcome to come and share their work. And we tweet out the link right before we begin from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism. Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys. It's been a great night.